I wasn't eating any of the meat, just the pastas and potatoes and dessert. And that food, combined with the stress, threw me back into having full-blown type 1 diabetes. And still I didn't know I had it. I had all the symptoms, which can look like symptoms of the flu when your blood sugar is very, very high. Weakness, constant urination, very frequent urination, very, very thirsty, very weak, tired. So I thought that I had the flu, and I ended up going into a diabetic coma because my blood sugar was so high, and because my pancreas was destroyed by the virus to produce the beta cells that produce the insulin, my blood sugar was too high, and I went into a diabetic coma.
How scary.
That led to learning about how to heal and work with diabetes in a holistic way, because I had to start taking the Western medicine, the insulin, which at the time, I didn't want to be on any Western medicine. Now I'm seeing the value of Western medicine, especially insulin, and other things that help people too. So I believe in both medicines now combined in the right way, and like they do in China, they use both the Western medicine and the Chinese medicine, the herbs, the acupuncture, the Chinese massage, the Chinese qigong healing. So they combine them, and patients respond to that very well. So that's how I got diabetes and got into studying about what could heal it. And I found a place that was 23 years ago, and at that time there was no internet, but through a lot of phone calls I found out Hippocrates Health Institute was a healing place where people go when they have chronic and acute illnesses. And so I went to Hippocrates and learned about the value of the alkaline diet. By alkalizing the body, then the disease condition can be alleviated, especially type 2 diabetes. Type 1 and type 2 diabetes are diseases that are caused by too much acidity, too much acid in the body. And the acid can mutate. They found that acid can mutate, and parasites can mutate, and bacteria can mutate, and they can all mutate into other forms of candida, parasites, toxins that they give off. So if you have a virus and you're not so acidic like I was because of my diet, then you can actually maybe not contract diabetes, but all of the things together, being acidic, having a virus, because when the body is very acidic, the immune system is not as strong to fight off the viruses, the bacteria, the fungus. So my system was very acidic. So by going to Hippocrates, the main thing that you do there is alkalize the body. And one of the most alkalizing foods on the planet, besides alkaline water, is the wheatgrass, grown fresh at about 8 days old, and you juice that. And that clears the body with the chlorophyll and all the minerals and vitamins, and the chlorophyll, which is super alkaline to make the body super alkaline. And at Hippocrates, you drink fresh juice 5 times a day. 3 times a day they serve you fresh juice with cucumbers, which are very, very alkaline, celery, sunflower sprouts, buckwheat sprouts, and pea sprouts. And then twice a day you make your own fresh wheatgrass juice. And also now they're using alkaline water there. They have the alkaline water machines there, and people are all drinking the alkaline water. Back in those days, they had purified water, the best they could do, and put some drops or lemon. We always were told to put lemon in our water to make it more alkaline, because the lemon, even though the lemon is acidic, when it goes into the body, the lemon makes the body more alkaline. So we would drink the alkaline water and the wheatgrass juice and all the raw foods. And the exercise is very, very important for diabetics. And then the thought processes, forgiving and loving yourself and others, and just having a positive attitude with hope and faith that you know you can heal. so that's how I got involved with the holistic diabetes, because I thought that I could get off the insulin. That was my goal in life, was to get away from the drug insulin. So
Sure.
I spent 6 years working as hard as I could to heal my body so I can get off insulin. But that is what I'm going to explain now, the difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Because so many people mix up the two types. It's so confusing to people. So I'm going to explain it so people can understand it.
Great.
Diabetes type 1 and 2 have the same symptoms, the symptom of high blood sugar. So that's why they're both called diabetes. There's too much sugar in the blood. But the cause and the treatment of diabetes type 1 and diabetes type 2 is totally different. So with diabetes type 1, in the olden days, around the time when I got it, it was mostly children and people under the age of 20 that got type 1. And that's why they call it juvenile diabetes, because mostly juveniles got it. And that type of diabetes is caused by a virus that triggers off the immune system. And my own immune system's T cells, the killer cells that go in and attack the virus, was misinformed, and it was attacking my own beta cells. And the beta cells are the cells that produce the insulin. So my own body was attacking the cells that make the insulin. And that's what diabetes type 1 is caused from. And again, even though it's caused from that, it is still an acidic condition. If the body was in total balance with perfect alkalinity, I don't think you could have a virus that would, and your immune system attack itself like that. But even if you have a perfect diet and perfect water, if you have too much stress or too much anger, that can still create too much acid in the body. So even post-traumatic stress and situations that you have no control of can cause you to be acidic. So type 1 diabetes is very difficult to cure because the body is lacking the cells that make the insulin. So there's nothing to make the insulin. So type 1 diabetes is also called insulin dependent because you have to take the insulin from the outside, either through a shot or in an insulin pump, or nowadays they're working on some spray insulin that you can take in the mouth. But you can't take it orally because insulin can't be metabolized by the digestive system. It has to go into the blood. So that's type 1. It's very difficult to heal. So when people say, oh, take this herb for diabetes or this cure or that cure, usually they're talking about type 2. And they might say, and type 1. But more often than not, it's a cure that works for type 2. So type 2 diabetes is the better kind to have. If you have to have a kind, then rejoice that you have the type 2, because type 2 can be completely reversed in most cases by making the body more alkaline. And one of the easiest ways to make the body more alkaline with very little effort is to drink alkaline water. And you start the water at maybe 8 alkalinity and work your way up to maybe 10, and do it in a systematic way, drinking the proper amount of water per day, which would be if you take your weight and you divide it in half and drink that many ounces of water a day. That's the correct amount of water to take. And some people say, well, I drink 4 glasses of tea and 3 cups of coffee, so I only need to drink 2 glasses of water. Tea, coffee, soda, juice, nothing really counts for the water. The water is separate. You can look at alkaline water as a medicinal quality and as a medicine. It's a medicine that you take in a way with the proper amount, the proper time. And a lot of times people, when they feel hunger, it's not really hunger, it's thirst. Our body is sending the wrong message to the brain, or the brain is reading the message wrong. The sensation of hunger, more often than not, is really a sensation for thirst. So the best way to get the water in you medicinally is when you wake up in the morning, have at least 3 glasses of water before you eat any food at all. and you can space that out, within the first hour that you wake up, and take whatever pills you take with your water, whether it be your probiotics or your systemic enzymes or anything you take in the morning, whether it be some diabetic medication, and take that with the water. And then after you get that much water in you, the rest of the day, every hour, you can drink half a cup or a cup of water so that you stay hydrated throughout the day. Keep your brain functioning, keep all your systems functioning. There's so many health issues that can be resolved simply by drinking water. And weight loss is a huge issue that can be resolved for type 2 diabetics by drinking the water, because the alkaline water goes into the body and takes the acid out of the system so that you urinate the acid out of the body and the body becomes more and more alkaline. So it's a detoxifying treatment. So you can't start with, 50 ounces a day at level 10 or 11 unless you've already cleansed your body and worked on your health, because you could have a massive detox reaction even as bad as throwing up. So that's how powerful the water is. It has the power to, that alone, reverse diabetes type 2. And when I say reverse, and as opposed to cure, it's because it can reverse it. But if you go back to a high fat diet, high meat, high dairy, high sugar, which is the standard American diet called the SAD diet because it makes you sad, that you can get your disease back. So it's reversed because you have to continue to live a alkaline lifestyle, which is alkaline water, alkaline food, alkaline thoughts, exercise. So the good news for type 2 diabetics is to change your food, your water, your exercise, and your thoughts, and then you have good results. And many, many people have been healed with even just one of those things. Some people with just by eliminating diet sodas, which are one of the most toxic things you could possibly drink as a diabetic. The sweeteners in diet sodas actually can trigger off a response in the immune system that can cause diabetes. That's how toxic the artificial sweeteners are. They can trigger the immune system to not function. So the disease of type 2 diabetes is caused by the body is producing the insulin. The beta cells that produce the insulin are totally intact, but the cells, the receptors on the cells, do not receive the message of the insulin. They don't open up to receive the insulin. So the only thing that can bring sugar into the cell and out of the blood is the insulin receptor on the cell. So the insulin receptor will be on the cell, but it won't be opening because the cells aren't functioning in type 2 diabetes. So when you cleanse the body with alkaline water, then the cells can start to function again and open up to the receptor insulin and draw the sugar from the blood into the cell where it can be used for fuel. And that's why type 2 diabetes can be reversed so easily, because you just need to remove the acid condition on the cells and make the cells more permeable so that they can receive the alkaline water and the nutrients, and they can expel the toxins. And then once the cells are working, then the body can start working. So that's why diabetes type 2 is a much better disease to have than type 1, because it can be reversed through many different things. If you search the internet or the health food store, there's many different herbal remedies and herbal things that work for people with diabetes type 2. But a great way to treat it is with the water, because we have to drink water whether we have a disease or not. So it's always best to drink the purest and the best water that we possibly can. And the life ionizers are the purest and best water that I've found in researching all the different water ionizers. So that's what the difference of type 1 and type 2 is. And type 1 is benefited also greatly by the alkaline water, even though it can't be reversed in 99% of the cases, because it can take the acid out of the body, which if too much acid builds up, then the side effects from diabetes can kick in. the problems with the eyes, the kidneys, the neuropathy. All of those problems are acidic conditions too. So for type 1 diabetes, it's also important to stay alkaline. With the water, with the diet, the best diet that I've found for all conditions for healing is the vegan diet, and especially the raw vegan diet. And that diet is consisting of vegetables, seeds, grains, sprouts, seaweed, and algae. And that is the best diet for the human condition through everything that I've studied, and also backed by many doctors like Dr. Gabriel Cousens, Dr. Robert O. Young, who wrote the book Diabetes with Alkaline Diet Cure, and Gabriel Cousens wrote There is a Cure for Diabetes. And in the book, they both say type 1 and 2, and yet it is mostly based for type 2, but type 1 diabetics can benefit greatly by following all of the advice and living the lifestyle of the alkaline lifestyle. A great way to make your food more alkaline is to add fresh juices to your diet. Fresh juices are one of the best foods to get in because it doesn't have to be digested. It goes straight into the bloodstream and into the cells, and you have all the nutrients and all the minerals. So the fresh juices once or twice a day, and that's what also Dr. Robert O. Young talks about, and Dr. Gabriel Cousens and Dr. Brian Clement, to do the juicing. Now, for most people, juicing is very difficult because A, they don't have a juicer, or B, they don't have time to make the juice and clean up the juice because it is a long process. So what I've done and what other people do to make it easy is you just take your organic vegetables and you chop them up and you put them in your blender, and it doesn't even have to be an expensive blender. I've been using a $24 Osterizer for the last 6 months because I broke my expensive blender. You put your cucumber, your celery, and your sprouts, or whatever else you like, in the blender, and you blend it up, and then you strain it with either a strainer or a nut milk bag or a cheesecloth. And this is very, very easy to do. You can do it every morning in less than 20 minutes to make enough juice for the whole day, to have it at least twice a day. And that's a great way to start the day after you drink your water. Then you put all those nutrients in your body in a form where you don't have to spend energy digesting it. And that is really going to lead the body towards much, much greater health. And then there's also smoothies that you can make, and you can throw in the blender your vegetables. When I make a smoothie, I don't use the celery because I'm not going to be straining the smoothie, so I just take a cucumber and peel the cucumber, and I chop it up and put it in the blender, and then put some strawberries, which are one of the lowest glycemic fruits, and it has a nice flavor and color. And then put raw protein powder, which is called Sun Warrior. They have a rice and a barley. It's a fermented protein powder that's pre-digested, so that it's very easy to digest and very, very easy to assimilate the protein from that, as opposed to meat, which is already denatured protein, and it takes the body so much energy to process the meat or the dairy and process out the toxins that you're actually not getting much benefit from the protein by eating that kind of denatured protein. So by eating the fresh juice, especially sunflower sprouts are one of the highest sprouts in protein. When you combine sunflower sprouts with buckwheat or pea sprouts, you're getting a complete protein. Very, very, very easily digestible. And you see people come to Hippocrates literally on death's door, just gray and yellow and can barely move. And by the time they leave there, after that much juice and that much alkaline water and exercise and love, there's a lot of love and appreciation there, and they work with the psychology, you see people leave glowing, just absolutely glowing. Also, I used to, for 2.5 years, worked in a fasting retreat, and they fast, the people who come there would fast for a week on just vegetable juice and herbal teas and herbs to cleanse the colon. Those people would leave there glowing. It's to get very, very high and joyous is to do a fast and do a lot of juicing in the proper medicinal way with supervision if you've never fasted before. And they tell diabetics not to fast, and then that's, it is harder for diabetics to fast because we have a challenge. If we're especially type 1 diabetics, if you're taking insulin, then you have a great challenge in fasting because if your blood sugar goes too low, you have to eat something sweet. But there is ways to do it by adjusting the amount of insulin that you're taking when you're fasting, and you can probably reduce it to, when I fast, like 5 units of insulin a day. That's fasting on juice. I would never recommend anyone diabetic to fast on anything but juice, or even just fasting on raw foods as a cleanse for a week. So everybody has to start with where they're at. If you start with eating meat and dairy now and you're on a fad diet, you eat processed food, the place to start is to reduce your meat. So maybe cut out beef or cut out pork or cut out both. And then a few months later, cut out chicken, or say I'm only going to have chicken once a week. And a few weeks later, only have fish. And you just gradually, well, you increase the foods that you like that are vegetarian, like millet or quinoa is one of the highest grains in protein. And it's a very nice, nutty flavor. It's a grain that comes from South America. It comes in a yellow quinoa or red quinoa. And it's very tasty with steamed vegetables, which is a lot of the recipes in Dr. Robert O. Young's book are cooked food. They're not even raw. He doesn't even recommend raw because he's talking in that book to the general public to help them, bring them to a more natural diet without, saying no meat, no dairy. But the ultimate goal is to transition to a plant-based diet so that you don't have all the toxins and the hormones and the chemicals of these animals, because those are not good for the body. If you have a disease condition, it takes too much energy to detox those toxins. And then exercise helps detox the toxins. If you're in a very weakened and sick condition, you can start by exercising 5 minutes a day, work up to 10. And if you're sick but getting better, you can do a 20-minute walk every day. And if you're well, exercising an hour to an hour and a half for a diabetic is a very good amount of exercise to maintain on a daily basis to maintain your health and your blood sugar. So I've seen a diabetic in my practice where all I did was suggest that he stop his diet sodas and drink water instead. And that one thing alone, he didn't change his meat or his steak or his dairy. He didn't even drink alkaline water. Just changing from no diet sodas to drinking water all day long instead was enough to make him well enough to get off his medication he was taking. He was a type 2. He got off his medication for diabetes, and his blood sugar was totally balanced.
That's a stunning story on just that simple change. That's amazing how evil diet sodas are. I'm really glad you brought up that subject twice, Doc.
Yeah, that's very important for people to understand, that they think they're doing something good for themselves by drinking a diet soda, and in truth, it would be 10 times better to have the actual sugar because of the processed chemicals. They aren't recognized as the body as a food. It's a foreign chemical and a foreign substance, and it's a very toxic substance. So the only sweeteners that diabetics should have, type 1, is like stevia, which is a plant from South America, a naturally sweetened plant. And there's a company called Wisdom Herbs that has my favorite stevia. It's a white stevia, liquid stevia, and they have different flavors. That is very good for diabetics. And type 2, maybe they could have a little bit of agave or a little bit of honey here and there if they're maintaining balance with their blood sugar. So that's the only sweetener that they should have, except for maybe some fresh fruit. And then another good thing to include in your smoothies. So I started talking about smoothies. I didn't get very far. Let me continue. So the smoothies, you can have the cucumber that's peeled as the base of your smoothie. You put in water and your cucumber and whatever else you like, strawberries. There's protein powder, some lettuce, And then you can ground up flax and chia seeds. Chia seeds have a huge amount of omegas, as do flaxseed. And both the flax helps to balance the hormonal system, and the chia seeds are good for energy, and they have a lot of omegas. They're good for the brain. So that's a food that diabetics should eat a lot of, flax and chia seeds ground up in smoothies or on your food. And it's quite tasty. It makes the smoothie kind of have a nutty, thicker taste. So all these foods are fun to eat and very, very enjoyable. It's not like, oh my God, I've got to give up something that I love and eat something horrible. It's just the opposite. You start to love these fresh foods because they give you so much energy, and because the plants are still alive, so they give you living energy and living. So it's fun. You make it fun instead of having an attitude of, oh no. It's an attitude of, oh my God, I'm so lucky I get to eat all this fresh organic food, and you have fun with it, and your friends will love to jump on the bandwagon with you once they taste your smoothies and your juices and your vegan foods. And a place to get a lot of support for if you're trying to go natural and heal yourself from diabetes, there's a website that he had that was listed on the PowerPoint there that you're looking at about the movement to reverse diabetes naturally. And that website came out of a movie called Raw for 30 Days, which they took, I think it was 6 diabetics that were on the SAD diet, and they gave them a free, all-expense-paid 3 weeks in the beautiful health resort in Patagonia, Arizona, at Dr. Gabriel Cousins' Raw Retreat Center and Fasting Juicing Center. And they went there, and they all got on the raw diet. And if you haven't seen the movie, I recommend it. You can go to this website, the one that's on there, the www.rdnmovement.com. And on that, it's like a Facebook for type 1 and 2 diabetics, where people are talking about their different issues and supporting each other and different topics. And you can meet friends and talk and ask questions. So it's a good way to get support and inspiration, too. When I'm low in inspiration about eating raw foods, I can go to that website and read some other people's experiences and get excited again about being on the path of total healing and total wellness. So I recommend that website if anyone's looking for support to get more healthy with alkaline water and alkaline foods. And there's a community pages on that website, which is www.rdnmovement.ning.com. And then also the other things I work with are cold lasers, which that alone also people have had results with healing type 2 diabetes, because you give the body, the cells, the energy to heal and to rejuvenate through the cold laser, the light. It's coherent light and goes into the cells and gives the cells the message and the energy to work properly so that they can let the insulin into the cell. So that's one thing that people also like. And then there's far-infrared saunas, which are very good for any kind of immune condition, because sweating is actually one of the most detoxifying processes. Going out for a run or a jog or a bike ride or a sauna, anything where you're just, or a dancing very hard, or drumming, anything that you love that makes you sweat is very, very good for your whole body, your immune system, because by sweating, the toxins are surrounded in a water molecule, and when they come to the surface of the skin, they burst open, and you can wipe away the toxins, and they come out of the body, especially heavy metal toxins and things that are hard to get out other ways. So I work with far-infrared saunas. It's very, very good for both types of diabetes and arthritis, incredible for arthritis and other immune diseases. So the main key with type 1 and type 2 diabetes is keep the carbs very low, because it's the carbohydrates that raise the blood sugar. And people say, well, vegetables have a lot of carbohydrates. But actually the carbohydrates in vegetables don't raise the blood sugar unless it's carrots and potatoes and sweet potatoes. The other green vegetables don't really raise the blood sugar very much. So it's best to keep the carbs down And you might say, well, I love pasta. What am I going to do? There is a kind of pasta that is called kelp noodles. And if you can't find it in the store, you can go to kelpnoodles.com. And there are these noodles made from a seaweed. And you just soak them in hot water for about 30 minutes. You don't even cook them. And they taste very delicious with any kind of raw or any kind of sauce you want to put on them. And they only have 15 grams of carbohydrates per serving, as opposed to 60 to 75 grams of carbohydrates with regular pasta. And then with bread, the best bread to eat if you have diabetes is a non-wheat bread, because most people, wheat is a excitotoxin that makes the body go into a toxic state and can actually cause brain fog and other allergic reactions. So it's best for people with immune challenges to stay away from wheat and dairy. Those are two things that if you can quit right away, that's a very good place to start. Stop all wheat and all dairy. Because dairy is not good for the body at all. It's very hard to heal and process when you're putting the dairy. There's just too much mucus and too many hormones, and the body doesn't need dairy. It's not a natural thing for the body. The baby cow never drinks milk after it gets a certain age, and the humans also don't need any milk after they're done with the mother's milk. So the best is to stop that, to drink the alkaline water, to exercise, to be happy, and then with the weight loss for type 2 diabetics, because a lot of times type 2 diabetics have some extra weight, which is actually what is causing the cells to be sluggish in the first place. Just losing the weight alone with some diabetics, they can get off their medications, because when they lose the weight, their body and the processes in the body become more effective. So the alkaline water is a great place to start for weight loss, because the alkaline water pulls the acid out of the body. And if you're drinking enough of the water, you're not going to be hungry, and you're going to be nourished, and you're going to have a lot of energy. So you won't be spending your time eating or emotional eating, because you'll be nourished on a much higher level with a much higher fuel. So it's a great way to lose weight. And myself, I didn't need to lose weight, and I got on the water in May when I first got with the alkaline water. When I first got my Life Ionizer, it was, I think, May of '07. And by September of '07, I had lost way too much weight, because it just takes the weight, it makes the weight just fall off the body if you're drinking it in the amounts recommended. So I actually had to lower the amount of alkalinity in the water and start to have more protein powders and more foods like this bread I was going to tell you about. It's called manna bread, the rye manna bread. It's a sprouted bread. You can find it in the freezer section in the health food stores. That's one of the best breads if you have to transition onto a healthier diet and you want to get away from wheat and bread. That's a very delicious bread that tastes like the steak. It's naturally sweet because the rye is sprouted. And then for type 1 diabetics, the latest research right now is being done by a Dr. Denise Fossman. You can look her up online and see what she's doing. She's working with a treatment for type 1 where you actually identify the cells that are killing the cells that produce the insulin, and by identifying those and getting rid of those and then injecting your own cells into your liver. She's had some results with rats, and now they're 3 or 4 years into the study with humans. So, and then aside from that, there's stem cells in other countries that I've heard good reports on from Canada, but we don't have all the information yet. But hopefully in the next 4 or 5 years, we'll be able to get stem cells in America, and diabetes will be a disease of the past. That's my dream and my hope. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is something I'm personally, besides all this other stuff I'm personally interested in diabetic alert dogs. I found out about these. I always had a fantasy when I first got diabetes, because when you get your low blood sugar, you can't move, and if you get your high blood sugar, it's very hard to move, and if you live alone, it's hard to deal with these conditions. And I had a fantasy that you could teach a dog to bring you sugar or to bring you insulin, But it goes even beyond that. I found out they really are using the dog. The dog can be trained to smell the sugar when it's going down fast and when it's going up fast, and warn the diabetics so that they can take the sugar before they get too low. So it's very good for type 1 diabetics children, because the parents are very worried about their children. You can't really leave a child alone that has type 1 diabetes, because they could have the wrong amount of insulin and go into a diabetic coma. So it's a very good way for parents to have a little bit of relief from stress to get the diabetic alert dog, so that the dog can actually go everywhere with the child, and the child is no longer like a prisoner to their parents and their lifestyle at home. It becomes almost like a blind person, how liberated they become when they get their guide dog. It's the same for a diabetic child to get their dog and be able to go everywhere and have their dog that alerts them when they're starting to get low or starting to get high. And that's the beauty of the dog, is it warns you before. Because a diabetic's life is either they're going in too low and it's too late, and they're treating the condition with sugar because you have to, so now their body's going out of balance, too low, too high, too low, too high. And so this dog is, I'm really personally wanting to work with breeding and training diabetic dogs for children, and that's what I'm interested in. So that's all I'm going to say today. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask now, and thank you all for being here.
Yeah, thank you. And guys and gals, as you can tell, without a doubt, Kendra is a fountain of information. I'm so excited that we got a chance to hear, and you provide us with some great information on a lot of different topics. Again, folks, if we have time to take a few questions tonight, again, how you can ask your question is on your GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar toolbar that popped up when you logged in tonight. At the bottom of that toolbar, there is a chat box. If you click the plus symbol to the left of the chat box, it opens up a box that you can type your question in. The questions come in a little bit slow, so bear with me. We have a few questions. I promised Kendra that I would help assist answer questions as they come in tonight, but I got to be honest, Kendra, this first question I've got for us, if you don't have the answer, gang, I'm going to be very candid. I don't have the answer for this one. And the question is, how hard is it to grow wheatgrass in your home?
Well, there's several different ways to grow it. You can grow it with soil, and you just get soil and put it in a tray. You soak your wheatgrass. You put it on top of the soil. You don't even plant it. You cover the wheatgrass. You water it, and you cover it. And for 2 days, you keep it covered. And then when it starts to sprout, you can uncover it, and you water it twice a day. And you cut it and use it at around 8 days. So it's very easy. It's just the time. It does take time, but it's not hard. The other way to grow it is hydroponically, without soil. And for that, you can buy some different wheatgrass growing machines, which I think I'm going to do now. I've always grown it in soil, but I'm getting into wanting to try it hydroponically and buy a machine that will grow the wheatgrass and the sunflower and the buckwheat and the pea sprouts all hydroponically. And of course, the soil has a lot of minerals in it, so people say, well, it's better to grow it in the soil. And yes, that is true, but if you can't grow it in the soil because it's a lot more labor intensive, you can add different sea minerals and different solutions that come from the sea into your hydroponics so that your sprouts and your wheatgrass has just as much nutrients. And so it's much better to have it hydroponically than not at all. So it's not hard at all. It takes time and effort, but it's not difficult.
Great answer. Great information. We have a couple of other questions already in here. Our next question is the following. Is there an established relationship or correlation between the length of time food is spent in the mouth and diabetes? What do you think about that, Kendra?
Well, there is not a correlation between how long it's spent in the mouth and diabetes. It, of course, is better to chew your food and at least 30 bites and make your food into liquid and your liquid into food, which means chew your juices so that all the oxygen and all the nutrients are absorbed through the palate into the brain, and you get a head rush when you drink your juice because you're holding the juice in your mouth and the oxygen is going into your brain. So you chew your juice and you drink your food is the best way to live. You chew your food at least 30, if not 50, so that your food is completely chewed before you swallow it. Because anytime you don't chew your food well, you're putting additional stress on the immune system and the digestive system so that you can get the nutrients out of the food. So there's no direct correlation, but if you wolf down your food in stress and in an acidic condition for 40 years, that could be one of the contributing factors to type 2 diabetes.
Great information. Again, gang, my name's Jeff Blair. I'm the Dealer Support Manager for Life Ionizers, and we are joined by Kendra Moshe, whose business is called Diabetes Alternative, and her website is www.diabetesalternative.com. Again, that's diabetesalternative.com. And as you can tell, she is a fountain of information on a variety of topics regarding diabetes and alkalinity and ways to improve your healthy lifestyle to improve to better health, and I'm fascinated by the information that she provides us with. We have one other question that I see on here. This is a little bit of a longer question, so bear with me as I read this slowly to us. This person's question states that they were, and I appreciate them sharing this story, they were diagnosed with liver cancer in November of 2000. Now they've been diagnosed with another tumor on their left side. They had surgery in November, and the right lobe of the liver was removed, plus this person has diabetes type 2, and they're asking what is our opinion on alkaline water being beneficial for them. And I'll pose the question to you, Kendra, and then I do have a short piece of information to add on it as well behind you.
Okay. Absolutely, alkaline water will help you heal because it makes the body not so acidic, because the drugs and the stress of the surgery make the body acidic. So definitely one of the best things you can do is drink the alkaline water, again, starting at 8 or 8.5 and slowly working up, not drinking too much or too high too fast because your body has just undergone some stressful situations. The good news is that the liver has the word live in it. It's the only organ in the body that can completely regrow itself. So having the liver cut is better than any other organ to be cut. And if you drink the alkaline water and you exercise and you work on your positive attitude through meditating and through connecting with the universal good and your higher good, and you eat the alkaline food and get away from the animal products, all of the meat and all of the dairies, you can recover your health, I truly believe, to a very high degree. It takes a high commitment, but the result is phenomenal. I've seen people transform their whole life and their whole health just by changing their diet, just by becoming vegan is so powerful. Another friend had a serious heart condition and went to the doctor. Actually, two men I know had a heart condition and went to the doctor. And in one case, the doctor told the person to get off meat and dairy, and then they went back and they were reversed their condition. And the other one got off the meat and dairy and went on to a vegan diet, and also their heart condition was reversed. So getting off the meat and dairy and drinking the alkaline water and exercising is a powerful, powerful way to heal. So there is hope for everyone. I've seen cases of people that look like they just were let out of Auschwitz and sent home to die. And 6 months later, this person was beautiful, with full head of hair. Their hair, they had every kind of chemotherapy in the hospital, sent them home to die. 6 months later, with the not putting one drop of meat or animal products in their body, fresh juicing, exercise, this person was restored to full health with full head of hair, a beautiful body of muscles and tan. And this person was highly motivated because they had 3 children. And they were motivated, and that motivation helped them to not put anything in their mouth that was a dead animal. And this works. It works. No one can deny it works because there's case after case after case of scientific proof that this diet works for people to heal their body.
Agreed. That's great information, and really that's pretty much along the lines of what I was going to share. I'm certainly not in the position of the expertise that Kendra's in, but I'm fortunate and blessed that in the job that I have, I get to talk with many of our folks that work with us, and in many cases are also doctors and healness doctors and chiropractors, and a lot of folks are doing the same type of work that Kendra's doing, where they are trying to help people alter their lifestyles to improve their health situation. And we've heard countless stories of folks that by making your own body more alkaline, you're giving your body a much stronger position to fight off disease and make it much tougher for disease cells to thrive in your system. And I agree with Kendra that the vegan diet is great. Alkaline water is great because in both cases you're reducing acidity and making your body more alkaline, and you are dramatically increasing the odds of making it a lot tougher for disease cells to thrive. And I can't tell you how many folks that are either customers or patients of doctors that have talked with me about Life Ionizers that have stated alkaline water definitely helped them fight the disease that they had, and they were very positive that alkaline in their body had made a big difference where medicines and traditional Western medicine had failed them. So I appreciate your insights on that. That is all of our questions at this time. Kendra Mosh, thank you so much for joining us. Guys and gals, thank you so much for your time tonight. Again, this is Kendra Mosh at diabetesalternative.com, and my name is Jeff Blair, and I am the Dealer Support Manager of LifeIonizers.com, and I wish everybody a great night, and if we can help you further, please get in contact with us. My direct phone number is 760-585-1629. Again, it's Jeff Blair at Life Ionizers. Have a great night, everybody.
Okay, good night, and thank you.